In a world where intellectual discourse shapes the fabric of society, there exists a curious bias in Western academia, the dominance of left-leaning ideologies among intellectuals. I will explore why this is and look into the complex interplay of historical, sociological, and psychological factors that have helped shape the ideological orientation of intellectuals across generations. However, the word left is quite far-reaching. It can mean a communist who wants a revolution, or in the words of Zizek,
the majority of academics who are obsessed with this idea, the left needs a new answer. Isn't it basically, we want a radical revolution, but at the same time, we want our relatively prosperous lives to go on undisturbed. Like precisely as already Robespierre said, we want revolution without a revolution.
So here, when I say left, I refer to individuals, groups, or ideologies that advocate for social, political, and economic reforms aimed at promoting greater equality, justice, and collective welfare via governmental and legal structural changes. The roots of left-leaning thought among intellectuals can be traced back to the Enlightenment era, a period marked by the rise of reason, science, and individual liberty. Intellectual luminaries such as Voltaire, Rousseau, and Locke laid the groundwork for progressive ideas that challenged the traditional power structures of monarchy, aristocracy, and religious authority. Their writings championed the ideals of equality, liberty, and fraternity, setting the stage for the emergence of modern leftist thought. This is opposed to the historical development of conservative thought that has often been associated with the preservation of traditional values and institutions rather than radical intellectual revolution. Right-wing ideologies tend to emphasize stability, hierarchy, and continuity, which may be perceived as less conducive to the paradigm-shifting ideas often associated with intellectualism. This emphasis on tradition and order may attract fewer individuals inclining towards challenging established norms and advocating for social change. Historically, Western universities and intellectual institutions often prioritize challenging the traditional power structures. Therefore, the institutional landscape of academia and intellectual circles have historically been more conducive to left-leaning perspectives. Moreover, disciplines such as sociology, anthropology, and cultural studies, which often intersect with leftist thought, have gained prominence within academic circles, further reinforcing the dominance of left-leaning perspectives. Furthermore, Western academics live in a capitalist society, and as the Industrial Revolution swept across Europe and America, the socio-economic landscape underwent a seismic shift, giving rise to unprecedented levels of inequality and exploitation. Left intellectuals of the time, inspired by the principles of socialism and communism, articulated by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, began to critique the inherent injustices of capitalism. Right-wing academics who agree with capitalism could only argue that the alternatives to capitalism are even worse or at best offer reforms of the current system, but did not challenge existing economic structures with revolutionary new ideas. The alternatives being worse was played out as the 20th century witnessed the rise of totalitarian regimes that claimed to espouse leftist ideologies but devolved into authoritarianism and oppression. The atrocities committed by regimes like Stalin's Soviet Union and Mao's China tarnished the reputation of leftist thought, leading many leftist intellectuals to re-evaluate their political affiliations. Nevertheless, the core principles of social justice, human rights, and egalitarianism continue to resonate within left intellectual circles, albeit with a more critical and nuanced perspective. This more nuanced perspective led to a shift of socialist ideas away from a singular focus on class towards a more intersectional approach that encompasses race and gender. The civil rights movements of the mid-20th century, particularly in the United States, played a crucial role in shifting the focus of progressive activism towards issues of race and racial justice. These movements brought to light the intersecting forms of oppression faced by marginalized communities, challenging the narrow focus of traditional socialist thought. Likewise, the feminist movements of the 20th century brought attention to the systematic discrimination and oppression faced by women in various spheres of life, including the workplace, politics, and the home. This intersectional approach to feminism challenged traditional socialist movements to broaden their scope and address issues of gender inequality within their frameworks. Intellectuals, by virtue of their engagement with ideas and discourse, are predisposed to challenge established norms and question prevailing power structures. This inherent skepticism towards authority and tradition often aligns intellectuals with leftist movements that seek to dismantle the current systems. Right-wing intellectuals, however, may advocate for free market solutions to address social issues, such as promoting economic opportunity and entrepreneurship as a means of addressing poverty and inequality. While they may acknowledge the existence of sexism and racism, they may prioritize economic solutions over social or regulatory interventions. For example, right-wing feminists are critical of government intervention in addressing gender inequality, preferring market-based solutions or voluntary initiatives within civil society. They may advocate for policies that promote economic opportunity and entrepreneurship for women, rather than government-mandated quotas or affirmative action. Then there's libertarianism, which prioritizes individual liberty and limited government intervention, often promotes equal rights for all individuals, including racial minorities. Libertarians advocate for policies that protect individual freedoms and civil liberties, regardless of race or ethnicity. Therefore, right-wing ideologies are commonly been associated with traits such as aversion to change, conformity, and deference to authority, which, as said, does not fit well in a university environment which prefers to challenge the traditional power structures. Moreover, the polarization of contemporary political discourse, fueled by factors such as social media echo chambers and political tribalism, may further discourage intellectual engagement with right-wing ideas, leading to a dearth of conservative voices within intellectual circles. It's difficult to say if in a communist-driven society we would expect to see academia dominated by right-wing intellectuals. Intellectuals in communist states, like the Soviet Union, with dissenting voices or individuals expressing right-wing ideologies that oppose communism, were often marginalized, silenced, or persecuted. In some cases, right-wing intellectuals may perceive a lack of ideological diversity or tolerance for dissenting viewpoints within Western academia, which could potentially influence their decision to pursue alternative career paths outside of academia. This perception may be exacerbated in disciplines or departments where left-leaning perspectives are dominant, or where there is a perceived bias against conservative ideas. Additionally, societal and political factors outside of academia, such as public discourse, media representation, and cultural attitudes towards conservative thought, can also impact the experiences and career trajectories of right-wing intellectuals. In environments where conservative perspectives are marginalized or stigmatized, individuals may face challenges in advancing their careers or gaining recognition for their work within academic circles. However, as a final note, it's important to remember that many right-wing intellectuals continue to thrive within academia, contributing to scholarly discourse, publishing influential research, and engaging in debates and discussions across ideological divides.